Déjà vu. Most people think of it as a harmless brain misfire, a glitch in memory, a fleeting illusion, a strange feeling that vanishes in seconds. But what if déjà vu isn't a mistake? What if it's a warning? This happened to me in 2015 when I was 24 and working the night shift at a university library in Southern Oregon. I wasn't a student, I was just part of the overnight maintenance crew. It was boring work. My job was mostly restocking shelves, vacuuming, and making sure no students had passed out in the stacks. The library was huge, 4 floors, including a sub-basement that no one really used anymore. That part was technically restricted to staff only, mostly for archives and old microfiche files that had long since been digitized. But the staff was lazy about locking it, and I had to go down there every once in a while to check humidity levels or look for leaks. One night in early October, I went down to the basement to fix a dripping pipe. As soon as I stepped off the elevator, I felt a chill, not cold, but something off. You know that feeling when a room is too quiet? Like the silence is pressing on your eardrums? That's what it felt like. I walked toward the utility closet with my toolbox, and halfway there, I stopped. Because I'd been here before. Not just the basement. Not just the hallway. This exact moment. The flicker of the fluorescent light above me. The faint hum of a distant air duct. Even the slightly musty, paper dust smell in the air. I knew it all. And I knew what was about to happen. There would be a loud bang, like something heavy falling on concrete. Then the light above me would buzz louder and go completely out. Then, I would hear a whisper from behind the metal shelves to my left. And that's exactly what happened. I remember standing there frozen, holding my breath. The noise wasn't random. The timing wasn't just coincidence. I remembered it. And I remembered what came next too. Something moved across the floor. I didn't see it. I just knew it was there. A shadow that didn't belong. I backed away fast. I slammed the elevator button over and over, and when the doors finally opened, I didn't even look back. I didn't tell anyone about that night. Not my coworkers, not even my roommate. I convinced myself it was just stress. Maybe I had dreamed it before or confused it with a memory from years ago. But the next week, it happened again. Same shift, same time. I had to go back to the basement to check a leak near the HVAC unit. I tried to tell myself it would be fine, that déjà vu couldn't hurt me. But the moment I stepped off that elevator, my body froze. My hands started to shake. Because it wasn't just déjà vu this time, it was a memory, a sequence, a script that was unfolding again. And I remembered what came next this time too. I'd turn right, walk down the hall, and see a figure standing just at the edge of the shadows, tall, gaunt, completely still, facing away from me. And when I walked past, it would turn. I told myself to stay on the elevator. I told myself it wasn't real. But my feet moved anyway. I turned the corner, and it was there. Exactly as I remembered. A tall figure in what looked like a dark hooded coat, standing with its back to me. I couldn't see its face. I don't know how long I stood there, but it felt like hours. And then it turned. Its face wasn't a face. It was like staring into a black mirror, not a void, not a shadow, but something with depth. Like it was pulling light inward. I ran. I didn't fix the leak. I didn't clock out. I didn't stop until I was outside in the cold night air, shaking and soaked with sweat. I quit that job the next morning. A few months later, I went back during the day, just to prove to myself that it was fine. The basement was empty, brightly lit, normal, nothing there. But I didn't feel any better, because even now, years later, I still dream about that hallway, that moment, that figure. And the worst part? The dreams aren't dreams anymore. They're memories of things that haven't happened yet. Each time, they go a little further, and I always know what's coming next. I just don't know how many times I've already lived it. My name's Callie. This happened when I was 10 years old, and for the longest time, I thought it was just a strange childhood dream. But the older I get, the more I'm convinced it wasn't. I grew up in a small suburb in northern Illinois, the kind of town where every neighborhood had a tiny park with the same cookie-cutter swing set, monkey bars, and a faded red slide. Our house was at the end of a cul-de-sac, and the playground was less than a block away. I used to go there all the time, especially in the early evenings, just before dinner. I'd bring my little stuffed bear, climb the jungle gym, and pretend it was a pirate ship. It was my favorite routine. But one day, it felt different. I walked into the park like I always did. The sun was low in the sky, everything bathed in that golden hour glow. But the moment I stepped off the sidewalk and onto the wood chips, something in me just froze. Because I remembered this. Not the park. Not the weather. I remembered this moment. The squeak of the right swing swaying without anyone on it. The exact way the wind kicked up a swirl of leaves near the slide. The faraway sound of a dog barking from 2 blocks over. It wasn't just similar. It was exact. And I knew something else too. A boy was about to walk out from behind the trees. I turned, and sure enough, there he was. Maybe a year older than me, wearing a navy blue hoodie and jeans, walking slowly, like he was waiting for me to notice him. He didn't look familiar, but I knew him, like I had met him in a dream. He walked right up and asked if he could play. I remember saying sure, and we took turns on the swings for a while. He didn't talk much, but when he did, he asked strange questions, things like, "Do you know what year it is? Do you ever feel like you've been here more than once?" And then the one that still sticks with me. "What do you think happens if we do it different this time?" I asked him what he meant. He didn't answer. He just smiled, got off the swing, and walked over to the merry-go-round. I followed him. He told me to spin it as fast as I could. And here's the part that never made sense. I did. And as it turned, I suddenly got this wave of dizziness. But not normal dizzy. It was like the air got thick. Everything sounded muffled. The trees around us blurred. It felt like I wasn't even on the ground anymore. Then he jumped on, and everything stopped. Like someone hit pause. The wind, the sound, even the sunlight seemed to freeze mid-glow. I looked around and realized the entire park was empty. No birds, no distant traffic, not even the dog barking anymore. Just me and this boy. And then he looked at me and said, "This is where it always ends." He told me I wouldn't remember much after this, only the feeling. And he said if I ever came back here and felt it again, to run, no matter what. Then everything snapped back to normal. The air, the sounds, the colors, like flipping a switch. I turned around, and the boy was gone. I ran home crying. I told my mom I felt sick. I didn't say anything about the boy or what happened. I wasn't even sure I could put it into words. I avoided that park for years. But here's the thing. When I was 17, I walked past it on the way home from a friend's house. It was late afternoon. Same golden light. Same breeze. And suddenly, I stopped cold. Because I remembered it. The swing was creaking. The wind kicked the leaves by the slide. And I knew if I turned, the boy would be there. I didn't turn. I ran. I've since looked through yearbooks, police records, even online forums to see if anyone else had a memory like mine. Nothing. It's like he never existed. but I still dream about him. Sometimes we're in that park, and he's sitting at the top of the slide, looking right at me. And I know I've seen that same look in his eyes before. Not just once, but dozens of times. My name is Adrian. I'm 36 now, but this started when I was in my late 20s, after I moved into a brownstone in Baltimore with my girlfriend at the time, Kara. The house was old. Not charming old. More like creaky floorboards, warped door frames, and cracked ceiling plaster kind of old. But the rent was cheap and the location was close to the university where Kara worked, so we took it. There was this small room on the second floor at the very end of the hall. It had no windows, just a slanted ceiling, a weird patch of water damage on one corner, and a single light bulb hanging from the middle. We called it the echo room because if you stood in there and said something, even quietly, it sounded like it bounced around longer than it should have. Like the sound stuck to the walls. We didn't use it much, just storage. Boxes, coats, some old furniture we didn't need. But one night, around 2 a.m., I got this overwhelming feeling that I had forgotten something. I shot up in bed, heart racing, no idea why. Kara was still asleep beside me, breathing steady. I walked into the hallway and just stood there because I remembered this. The exact lighting, the weight of the air, even the feeling in my chest, like something was wrong, but I didn't know what. And then I knew. The echo room light was on. I didn't leave it on. Neither did Kara. We hadn't opened that door in days. But I could see the faint glow of the bulb bleeding through the gap under the door, flickering slightly. And here's where it gets weird. I remembered this moment. Not like a dream, like a fact. And I remembered what was inside the room. A chair, facing the corner, and someone sitting in it. But here's the part I'll never forget. I also remembered me walking into that room, like I was watching myself from the hallway, like I had already done this. I stood outside the door for maybe 20 seconds, paralyzed. Then I reached for the knob. As soon as my hand touched it, the light turned off. I yanked the door open. The bulb was still swaying slightly. The room was silent. The chair was still there, but empty. I closed the door and went back to bed, trying to convince myself I was half asleep. Stress. A dream. Something logical. But the next night, same time, same feeling, I woke up again. And the light was on. And again, I remembered. But this time, when I opened the door, the chair wasn't empty. It was me. Or something that looked like me. Same flannel shirt. Same stubble. Same tired look. But the skin was pale, like wax. The eyes were open, but wrong, not looking at me. More like looking through me. I slammed the door and didn't sleep at all that night. The next day, I told Kara everything. I expected her to laugh, or at least tell me to see a doctor. But instead, she looked pale and said, "I've been having dreams of you sitting in that room, staring at the wall." She had seen it, too. That night, we slept with the bedroom door locked. But around 2 a.m., there was a knock. Not from downstairs. From inside the hallway. 3 slow knocks. Then silence. We didn't move. Just lay there listening. Eventually, we both fell asleep somehow. The next morning, the door to the echo room was wide open. The chair was gone. We moved out within the week. But here's the part I still can't wrap my head around. A few months later, I went to visit my cousin who lives in New Jersey. He had just bought a fixer-upper house and wanted my help gutting the interior. It was a totally different city, totally different architecture. But when we went upstairs to look at the back bedrooms, I felt it again. That pull, that sense of remembering something I'd never seen. And at the end of the hall was a small room with no windows and a chair inside. Empty. Music grows slightly more intense. Low hum building. I never went inside. I didn't have to. Because whatever it is, déjà vu, a loop, an echo, it's not just memory. It's something deeper. Like our lives are tracks on a vinyl record. And sometimes the needle jumps